Hey everyone, and welcome back to your Brainlight. Today we're diving into something that might sound a little out there at first. But trust me, it's incredibly powerful and practical. We're going to talk about your inner child. Now I know what you might be thinking. Inner child? That sounds like some new age woo-woo stuff. And I get it. The term can conjure up images of teddy bears and crayons or feel overly sentimental. But I promise you, this isn't about reliving your childhood exactly as it was or dwelling on the past. It's about understanding how the experiences you had when you were young continue to shape your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors today, and how you can actually start giving yourself what you needed back then right now, as an adult. So what do I even mean by inner child? Think of it as the part of you that still holds the emotions, memories, and beliefs you formed during your early years. It's the part of you that learned to cope with the world as a child, and those coping mechanisms, while they might have been necessary then, might not be serving you so well today. It's not about a literal miniature version of you running around inside your head. Instead, it's about recognizing that the emotional needs you had as a child, the need for safety, love, acceptance, validation, those needs are still there in some form. And when they aren't met, that inner child can act out, so to speak. Think about it like this. Imagine a plant that didn't get enough sunlight or water when it was first sprouting. It might grow, but it might be a little stunted, a little fragile. Even if you give it everything it needs later on, it still carries that early experience with it. It might be more susceptible to stress, or it might need extra support to thrive. Your inner child is similar. Now, why is this important? Well, because that inner child can be the driving force behind a lot of the patterns in your life that you just can't seem to break. The anxiety you feel before a presentation, the way you always people please, the difficulty setting boundaries, these can all be linked to unmet needs from your childhood. For example, let's say as a kid, you were constantly criticized or told that you weren't good enough. Your inner child might develop a deep-seated belief that you're not worthy of love or success. And that belief can then manifest in your adult life as self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, or difficulty forming healthy relationships. Or maybe you grew up in a chaotic environment where you never felt safe or secure. Your inner child might be constantly on high alert, expecting the worst. This can lead to anxiety, hypervigilance, and difficulty relaxing and enjoying the present moment. The tricky thing is, these patterns often operate beneath the surface, outside of your conscious awareness. You might just feel like you're naturally anxious, or that you're just not good at relationships. But the truth is, these feelings are often rooted in those early experiences. So how do we start connecting with this inner child and actually start healing those old wounds? This is where the concept of reparenting comes in. Reparenting essentially means giving yourself the love, support, and validation that you didn't receive as a child. It's about becoming the parent you needed for yourself. Now, this isn't about blaming your actual parents. They likely did the best they could with what they had. This is about taking responsibility for your own healing and recognizing that you have the power to give yourself what you need now, regardless of what happened in the past. One of the first steps in reparenting is simply becoming aware of your inner child's needs. What did you crave as a child that you didn't receive? Was it unconditional love and acceptance? Was it feeling safe and secure? Was it being heard and validated? Think back to your childhood and try to identify those moments when you felt hurt, scared, or unsupported. What were the messages you received, both explicitly and implicitly? What did you learn about yourself and the world from those experiences? Once you have a better understanding of your inner child's needs, you can start finding ways to meet them in your adult life. This might involve things like setting boundaries, practicing self-compassion, or engaging in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Let's look at some practical examples of what this might look like in everyday life. Let's imagine someone who grew up in a family where emotions were often dismissed or ignored. They might have learned to suppress their feelings and put on a brave face, even when they were hurting. As an adult, this person might struggle with emotional intimacy and have a hard time expressing their needs. They might also be overly critical of themselves and have difficulty accepting compliments. To reparent their inner child, this person could start by practicing emotional awareness. This means paying attention to their feelings, even the uncomfortable ones, and allowing themselves to feel them without judgment. They could also start practicing self-compassion, treating themselves with the same kindness and understanding that they would offer a friend. This could involve things like writing themselves a letter of encouragement, taking a relaxing bath, or simply giving themselves permission to rest and recharge when they need it. They might also benefit from therapy or support groups where they can learn healthy coping mechanisms and practice expressing their emotions in a safe and supportive environment. Another example, imagine someone who grew up in a family where they felt like they had to earn love and approval through their achievements. They might have been praised for their grades or their athletic abilities, but not for who they were as a person. As an adult, this person might be a workaholic, constantly striving for perfection and feeling anxious and worthless when they're not achieving. They might also have difficulty setting boundaries and saying no to others, fearing that they will lose their approval. To reparent their inner child, this person could start by practicing self-acceptance. This means recognizing that they are worthy of love and acceptance simply for being themselves, regardless of their achievements. They could also start setting boundaries and saying no to others, prioritizing their own needs and well-being. This might involve things like taking time for hobbies and activities that bring them joy, spending time with loved ones who appreciate them for who they are, or simply allowing themselves to make mistakes without beating themselves up about it. They could also benefit from therapy or coaching, where they can learn to challenge their perfectionistic tendencies and develop a healthier sense of self-worth. Now, it's important to remember that reparenting is a process, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and self-compassion. There will be days when you feel like you're making progress, and there will be days when you feel like you're taking steps backward. The key is to keep showing up for yourself, to keep offering your inner child the love and support that it needs. Even small acts of self-care and self-compassion can make a big difference over time. It's also important to be realistic about your expectations. You're not going to completely erase your past or magically transform yourself into a perfect person. The goal is simply to become more aware of your inner child's needs and to start meeting them in a way that supports your growth and well-being. Think of it like learning a new language. You're not going to become fluent overnight. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to stumble over words, but with practice and persistence, you'll eventually be able to communicate effectively. Reparenting is similar. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Therapy can be incredibly helpful in exploring your childhood experiences and developing healthy coping mechanisms. Support groups can also provide a sense of community and validation. So, where do you start? Here are a few simple exercises you can try to begin connecting with your inner child and starting the reparenting process. First, try journaling. Take some time to write about your childhood from your inner child's perspective. What were your hopes and dreams? What were your fears and anxieties? What did you need that you didn't receive? Let your inner child speak freely without judgment. Second, practice self-compassion. When you're feeling down or overwhelmed, try talking to yourself the way you would talk to a child who is hurting. Offer yourself words of comfort, encouragement, and understanding. Remind yourself that you are loved, you are worthy, and you are not alone. Third, engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. What did you love to do as a child? What made you feel happy and alive? Make time for those activities in your adult life, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Maybe you love to draw, but haven't picked up a pencil in years. Maybe you love to dance, but feel silly doing it now. Give yourself permission to be playful, to be creative, and to simply enjoy yourself. And finally, ask yourself this: what is one small thing I can do today to show my inner child some love and support? It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, listening to your favorite music, or giving yourself a hug. Reparenting is a journey of self-discovery and healing. It's about learning to love and accept yourself unconditionally, just as you are. It's about giving yourself the gift of a happy and fulfilling life. Before we wrap up, I want you to consider a few reflection questions. Really sit with these and let them guide you. First, what are some recurring patterns in your life that might be linked to unmet needs from your childhood? Where do you see echoes of your past showing up in your present? Second, what is one specific way you can start reparenting yourself this week? What small act of self-care or self-compassion can you commit to? And finally, what is one thing you can do to create a more safe and supportive environment for your inner child to thrive? That's it for today's episode of Your Brain Lied. I hope this has given you a new perspective on your own inner world and a few tools to start healing those old wounds. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.